You get home, you've had a long day. You call your dog's name, and they nearly dislocate their entire body with excitement. They're spinning, whimpering, practically vibrating with joy. It is, objectively, one of the most affirming experiences a human being can have. And then there's your cat who heard you come in. You know they heard you because one ear moved approximately 2 millimeters in your direction. Your cat who has not changed position, who has not opened their eyes fully, who, if anything, seems to have become marginally more comfortable and still in direct response to your arrival. Your cat is ignoring you completely, almost ostentatiously. So, the question that cat owners have been asking with a mixture of affection, exasperation, and genuine philosophical puzzlement for as long as cats and humans have coexisted is, what is actually going on in there? When your cat ignores you, what are they thinking? Do they even know you're there? Do they care? Is this active indifference some kind of feline power play? Or is something entirely different happening? Research from the University of Tokyo, the University of Bristol's Animal Behavior Unit, and the University of Veterinary Medicine Vienna has produced answers that are both hilarious and genuinely illuminating. Let's find out what's actually happening when your cat decides you don't exist. Let us begin by establishing the most important fact in this entire conversation. Your cat absolutely knows you're there. This is not a trivial point. The popular belief that cats are indifferent and asocial, that they don't form genuine attachments, don't track their owners, and are essentially autonomous creatures who happen to move into your house, has been systematically dismantled by research conducted over the past decade. The 2013 study from the University of Tokyo's Graduate School of Arts and Sciences, led by researcher Atsuko Saito, specifically addressed whether cats recognize and respond to their owner's voice. The design was careful. Cats were played recordings of their own name being called, first by strangers, then by their owner, all while an experimenter who did not know when the owner's voice appeared observed and coded the cat's behavioral responses. The results were unambiguous. Cats showed significantly greater orienting responses. Ear movements, head movements, pupil dilation, tail movement, and behavioral changes to their own name than to other names, and to their owner's voice than to strangers' voices. The degree of response correlated with the strength of the owner-cat relationship as rated by the owners. The cats knew their name. They knew their owner's voice, and they responded differently to each. But, and here is the crucial part, they did not necessarily come. They did not necessarily vocalize. They did not necessarily do anything that their owner would recognize as a meaningful response. They oriented their sensory apparatus toward the stimulus, processed it, registered its significance, and then, in many cases, did nothing externally observable. This is not indifference. This is something altogether more interesting. And to understand it, we need to understand a fundamental difference between feline and canine social psychology. Dogs, over their 15,000 years of domestication, were bred specifically for behaviors that mapped onto human social expectations. Responsiveness to commands, eagerness to please, enthusiastic displays of affection, submissive body language toward dominant figures. These behaviors were selected for because humans valued them and perpetuated the dogs who showed them. The domestic dog is, in a very real sense, a human social fantasy made manifest. An animal shaped to give us the social responses we find most rewarding. Cats went through no such selection process. As we established in an earlier episode, cats largely domesticated themselves, moving into human environments because the environment offered food. Not because humans selectively bred them for social performance. The domestic cat retains the social structure of its wild ancestor, a solitary territorial hunter who operates without the pack hierarchy that makes dogs so exquisitely responsive to social cues. What this means for the ignoring behavior is that responding to your call is, from your cat's perspective, not an automatic social obligation. It is a choice. John Bradshaw, a cat behavior expert at the University of Bristol whose book on feline cognition is considered one of the most authoritative in the field, makes this point explicitly. Cats understand requests, including their name, including come, including stop, but they evaluate each request separately and decide whether compliance serves their current interests. The dog has been shaped to override this evaluation in favor of responsiveness. The cat has not. When your cat ignores your call, they are not unable to respond. They are choosing not to. And this is not rudeness in any meaningful sense. It is the cat's authentic expression of a social psychology that was never designed for the kind of call and response performance that dogs have been optimized for. Your cat is being genuine. Your dog is being trained. But let's go deeper into the phenomenology of the ignore, because not all cat ignoring is the same, and the differences are informative. Research from the University of the Veterinary Medicine Vienna on feline social behavior has identified several distinct behavioral states that cat owners commonly interpret as ignoring, but that reflect meaningfully different internal conditions. The first is what we might call comfortable disengagement. Your cat is relaxed, resting in a comfortable environment with all their basic needs met. They heard you come in. They registered your presence. They are simply choosing to continue resting rather than engage because resting is what they were doing and your presence doesn't require a response. This is not rejection. It is the behavior of an animal that feels completely safe and comfortable in your presence. So safe and comfortable that your arrival does not produce alarm, excitement, or any strong motivational pull. You are so much a part of their normal, safe world that your presence barely registers as an event. Paradoxically, the more ignored your cat appears when you come home, the more completely settled and secure they may feel in your relationship. The second state is what researchers identify as social tension management. Cats, like most animals, use avoidance behavior to manage social discomfort without triggering conflict. If your cat is ignoring you in a pointed way, not just resting, but actively turning away, leaving the room, or positioning themselves with their back to you, this is communicative. They are expressing something. Perhaps they were startled earlier and need time to regulate. Perhaps they experienced an earlier interaction as overstimulating. Perhaps they were scolded recently and are processing the social disruption. The pointed ignore is a communication. I am not available for interaction right now. I need space. The difference between comfortable disengagement and social tension management can usually be read in the body. A relaxed, loose body in the former, and a slightly tense, deliberate positioning in the latter. The third state is what cat owners sometimes experience as the most maddening: deliberate attention withholding. Research documents that cats learn through repeated experience that withdrawal of social engagement produces a strong behavioral response from their humans: increased approaches, more vocalization, offering of food or play. The cat has learned that being ignored gets more attention than being immediately responsive. This is operant conditioning working as designed. Your cat has trained you to respond to their absence of engagement with escalating attempts at engagement. They may not be doing this consciously, but they are doing it effectively. Let us now address the question of whether your cat actually likes you, because the ignore behavior tends to produce genuine uncertainty about this in cat owners, and the research has something important to offer. The 2019 Oregon State University attachment study that we referenced in a previous episode established that approximately 65% of cats show secure attachment to their owners. Genuine bonding behavior that includes distress at separation and relief upon reunion. But this bonding does not express itself the way dog bonding does. And the mismatch between how cats express attachment and what humans typically recognize as attachment is the source of enormous misunderstanding. Cat attachment often expresses through proximity without contact. The cat who sits in the same room as you, but not touching you, who follows you from room to room, but walks in casually as if arriving were their own independent decision, who sits on the chair beside you rather than in your lap. These are all attachment behaviors. The cat is orienting toward their attachment figure, maintaining proximity, using your presence as a secure base, but they lack the performative quality that humans associate with affection. Dr. Mikel Delgado, a certified cat behavior consultant and researcher at UC Davis, has spent years studying the communication gap between cats and their owners. Her work documents that cat owners consistently underestimate their cat's level of affection and attachment because they are reading the relationship through the lens of dog social behavior, a lens that does not fit. The cat who sits 6 inches from you and stares at nothing is, by proximity and orientation, demonstrating something that in feline terms is intimate. The cat who slow blinks at you across the room is making a social overture that, in the context of feline communication, is an act of genuine warmth. The cat who ignores your call but then arrives minutes later in your vicinity and settles, having decided on their own terms to be near you, is demonstrating something that, in feline psychology, might be considered more genuine than an approach made under social obligation. We arrive now at the final and perhaps most important point about what your cat is thinking when they ignore you. A point that reframes the entire dynamic in a way that some of you will find unexpectedly liberating. Your cat's independence from social performance, their refusal to greet you on cue, their selective responsiveness to their name, their choosing of when and how to engage, is not a deficiency in the relationship. It is an accurate representation of the relationship as the cat understands it. Research in social psychology, particularly work on authentic relationships versus performative ones, consistently shows that the relationships people find most sustaining are those in which both parties feel free to be genuine, to not perform, to not manage the other's feelings through constant social demonstration. To trust that the relationship is secure without needing continuous maintenance through ritualized display. Your cat trusts the relationship so completely that they do not feel compelled to manage it. They are not working to maintain your affection through performance. They are not performing at all. When they want to be with you, they come. When they want contact, they seek it. When they want to communicate, they initiate. And in all the intervening moments aching, which in a cat's naturally resting lifestyle are the majority of moments, they simply are, without social production. There is, if you're receptive to it, something quietly instructive in this. The cat who ignores you is not the cat who doesn't care about you. They are the cat who is secure enough in your relationship that they don't need to constantly prove it. They know you're there. They know you'll feed them. They know you'll be on the couch later when they decide to sit on your feet. The relationship is to them completely solid. It doesn't need to be performed. That's not indifference. That's trust. The next time your cat spectacularly fails to acknowledge your existence while you make increasingly obvious attempts to get their attention, here is what the research tells you is actually happening. They heard you. They know you're there. They registered your emotional state and your physical presence with sensory precision that you cannot replicate. They considered responding. And they decided, based on their current internal state and their completely stable confidence in the relationship, that now is not the moment they've chosen for engagement. And when they do decide to engage, when they arrive at your chair 2 hours later and settle against your leg with that particular boneless, trusting weight, that approach will not be obligated by social expectation, trained by repeated commands, or shaped by anyone's demands. It will be entirely genuine, freely chosen, offered without condition. From a cat, that is not a small thing. That is everything. Tell us in the comments, what is the most elaborate way your cat has ever ignored you? We need every story,